Donald Trump paid his longtime New York lawyer, Mark Kasowitz, between $5 and $10 million this year, and he used your money to do it. Mark Kasowitz's law firm is one of the many so-called small businesses that got a huge loan from the Trump Treasury Department under the Paycheck Protection Program designed to help small businesses maintain their payrolls. The terms of these loans make it possible for all of the Trump friends who receive them to never pay them back, not one penny. Kanye West got between $2 and $5 million from Donald Trump, according to information finally released yesterday, after the Treasury Department first promised full transparency on who got exactly how much of this money when the Congress was considering legislating the funding of these loans. And then, of course, this being the Trump administration, they spent months fighting the release of any information about who received the government money. They have now released information indicating brackets like $2 to $5 million that someone might have received. Mitch McConnell's wife's family pulled in at least $350,000. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos pulled in at least $6 million. Joining us now is Stephanie Ruhle, senior business correspondent for NBC News and an MSNBC anchor, and Tim O'Brien is back with us. And Stephanie, your tweet yesterday about Kanye West getting this money really caught my eye. You pointed out that in 2018, he said he was hiring 160 people and his company was going to hit $1 billion. And then you see in the PPP application that he was trying to save 160 at-risk jobs, which is it's odd that those numbers would be identical between that period. There wouldn't be any more jobs that he was trying to save.
It would certainly make you want to start to look into possible accounting or payroll fraud. Listen, Lawrence, none of this is a surprise. And we should point out it's not Republicans only who got hooked up here. We've discussed it before. A Democratic Congresswoman from Las Vegas, Susie Lee, her husband runs a publicly traded company, a casino, and they got $5 million. The issue here is the spirit of the PPP program was not to say, we're going to cover the payroll of every small business out there to get you through COVID. That's not what the spirit was. The idea was any business that has been negatively impacted. The original idea was if you can show that your revenue is down significantly from a year ago because the shutdowns impacted service businesses, jobs you couldn't do from home, the government wanted to step in and pay your payroll and some other overhead expenses to prevent you from having to lay off all your employees and possibly shut down. However, they didn't add any of that language to the terms of this program because they wanted to get the money out quicker. And because they didn't add that language, surprise, surprise, the program got completely abused. And if we hadn't begged and pleaded and forced the Treasury Department to give us this information, which, as you said, I promise you, they tried to go through every hoop to keep it a secret, we never would have known. But now we see how abused this program became. And the question now is, what are they going to do about it? Because these PPP loans don't have to be forgiven. They can be treated just like loans. So now that the whole thing has been exposed, the question to the government, to Congress, what you going to do about it?
Tim O'Brien, I have a feeling the answer is going to be nothing.
Well, and if that's the case, every American taxpayer should be jumping out of their shoes over this, Lawrence. The PPP is almost a $700 billion program. It's one of the most significant spending arms of a $2.7 trillion federal bailout of the economy, state governments, and businesses in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. We have never engineered a bailout at this scale. And there's all sorts of things about this that smell. There was a carve out in this made for franchises, so large chains could apply for loans on a store-by-store basis, even if they already were essentially very large businesses. Kevin Hern, a representative from Oklahoma, who owns franchises himself, pushed for carve-outs for franchises, and lo and behold, his companies ended up getting a PPP loan. This is taxpayers' money that was meant to go to working Americans suffering through the economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic. And Steven Mnuchin at the Treasury Department has not put in the most basic controls for actually assessing whether the money got to workers in the end, whether or not all of the businesses that received it were eligible. And as Steph pointed out, Steven Mnuchin has sat on his hands for months now, refusing to disclose who got that money. And it's not the Treasury Department's money at work, it's taxpayers' money, and taxpayers should know where it went. It's interesting and curious to me that Mnuchin's stonewalling on this issue.